Drivers, start your engines. Pull those belts down tight one more time, warm up those tires, hit your marks, and let's go racing, boys and girls. NASCAR, Indycar, Formula One, Formula E, and NHRA Racing Talk. This is the Championship Racing Network. Now here is your hosts, Steve West and Matt Nicholson, with producer John Myers.
Indeed, the gang is all here. Welcome in. Hope everything is going well with all of you. As we here in the Southeast deal with the remnants of a hurricane that, well, apparently has decided it loves the Southeast and just won't go away.
Yeah, sure won't.
Good grief. I'm about done with storms.
Yeah, me too.
This thing needs to leave. Get out now. Go away. Why do I say that?
Go to 3.
Let me try that. Let's see if that works better. Let's try that, shall we?
I was about to say.
Professional broadcasting, ladies and gentlemen.
Yeah.
Anyway, yeah, I can't wait for the remnants of Nathaniel to go away. Good grief. Although they do say that a cold front's coming in. Somewhere around Wednesday. And it might finally shove all of this stuff out of here. And we can dry out a little bit if you're in the southeastern part of the country.
That would be great.
Wouldn't it be nice?
Mm-hmm.
Well, hopefully we'll be able to get racing in this weekend as well, because there's plenty of it. And there was a lot of racing last weekend. So let's get into it, because hour number 2 going to be a biggin'. It's going to be all about NASCAR. It's going to be a big schedule show.
Yeah, it's going to be a little bit busy.
We have a preliminary idea of what the 2022 schedule in IndyCar might look like. It hasn't been made official yet. We know what the NHRA's Camping World Drag Racing Series 2022 schedule will look like.
Mm-hmm.
And we know what NASCAR's Cup Series 2022 schedule is going to look like.
Mm-hmm.
To borrow the phrase from Ron White in Blue Collar Comedy Tour, somebody doesn't own a globe. So we'll talk about that. But first, a lot of racing last weekend. Saturday belonging to NASCAR last weekend, holding a doubleheader at Richmond. It began with the Xfinity Series after claiming a win at Darlington the week before. Noah Gragson seemed to drive with a huge weight lifted off of his shoulders. He ends up claiming his second win in a row. He took the lead with 14 laps left, survived 2 late race restarts, and upon getting out of the car, wrapped himself, appropriately on September the 11th, with the American flag. Justin Haley was second, John Hunter Nemechek, Justin Allgaier, Riley Erbst, Daniel Hemrick, Ty Gibbs, Brandon Brown, and Harrison and Jeb Burton fell out the top 10. As of last week, Austin Cindric continued to the 1 seed, 3 wins for A.J. Allmendinger, 2 seed, 2 wins now for Allgaier and Gragson. They are battling for third. Haley, Jeb Burton, Myatt Snyder in with wins as well. Then you drop all the way down to the driver 12th in the standings. That was Riley Erbst. As of the end of the race at Richmond last weekend, he expanded his lead over Ryan Sieg to 93 points, meaning that anybody below 12th needed to win last night at Bristol to be able to get into the playoffs.
Mm-hmm.
We'll get back to that.
Mm-hmm.
Saturday night, the Cup Series took center stage at Richmond, much like Gragson, and it kind of appears that Joe Gibbs Racing, with Denny Hamlin's win at Darlington, is awake once again. Hamlin claimed the pole. His teammate, Martin Truex Jr., was right beside him. It was Truex, though, that was hit with a penalty when he crossed the starting line just before Hamilton to kick off the race. The good thing about that, you got 400 laps to make up for it, which he did. He grabs the lead with 51 laps to go, and for at least a time there, all 4 Joe Gibbs Racing cars were at the front of the field. And then Kyle Busch, I don't know what it is about Kyle. He's had those 2 championship years, but every other year he gets into the playoffs and he just seems to, something, either him or someone on the team folds under the pressure.
That's a fair way to put it, for sure.
In this case,
he's
snake bit?
Really not. I wouldn't call it snake bit. It's more Jekyll and Hyde.
I could see that.
Every single year, every year.
Yeah.
You don't know what you're going to get.
One year he's got his head screwed on straight, and the next year he gets upset at the slightest thing, and emotionally it takes him out of where he needs to be,
That's
and
fair
he's gone.
that is fair to say for sure.
In this case, it was Kyle who got a pit road speeding penalty. It took him out of contention. So Truex wins, trailing him Denny Hamlin, and then the third Joe Gibbs Racing driver, that was Christopher Bell, the guy you just heard on ZMAX Racing Country if you're listening on our flagship station, Thunder 92.7. Then you got Chase Elliott there, Joey Logano, Kyle Larson, Ross Chastain, who is having a nice playoff run, even though he's not in the playoffs.
Yeah.
Kevin Harvick, Kyle Busch, and Ryan Blaney. We're going to try that again? All right. Let's see if microphone 4 works. Yay? No? Yay? Maybe? Not really. I'm going to go back to 3 just so that people can hear me, just in case.
Microphone roulette.
Yes? No? Not yet. Microphone 4 appears to not want to work, which we're hoping to have fixed by next weekend.
Woo-hoo.
Next weekend's going to be a busy weekend.
Yep.
It's going to be all about Talladega. And on that note, we're going to have 2 people from Talladega, Russell Branham, and the president, Brian Crichton. Russell will be in an hour 1, and Brian will be in an hour 2.
Nice.
So it'll be all about Talladega.
Nice.
1 week before Talladega. Let's see. Hamlin and Truex are locked into round 2. Kyle Larson, Joey Logano. Kyle Larson's in on points. Joey Logano is just outside of the cut line as they get ready to race tonight. Ryan Blaney's in there. Kevin Harvick, Chase Elliott, Christopher Bell, Brad Keselowski, Kyle Busch, Eric Almirola, Kurt Busch, all above the cutoff line. Drivers on the hot seat. Alex Bowman actually is tied with Kurt Busch, but Kurt holds the tiebreaker. Tyler Reddick's 5 points under, William Byron's 18 down, and sitting 38 points under the cutoff line and all but needing a win, Daytona 500 winner Michael McDowell. Good luck. It's Bristol. Ain't going to be an easy task.
No, sir.
Sunday morning last weekend found Formula One in Italy, and when the 2 points leaders take each other out, which they did, it becomes a free-for-all as to who might end up in victory lane. Back to the points leaders quickly. Lap 26 of 53 scheduled laps. Lewis Hamilton was coming out of the pits. Max Verstappen was coming up on him. Verstappen attempted to make a pass on Hamilton through turn 2, but the two end up getting together, causes Verstappen to actually climb up over the top of Hamilton's race car. By the time they came to a stop, Hamilton's car was sitting underneath Verstappen's the entire time. Hamilton later credits the halo for saving his life. We'll get back to that during the news. The thing is, both of them actually would have been trying to chase down Daniel Ricciardo, who got by Verstappen on the start of the race, and with those two out, went on to claim the win in his McLaren. Back to that in the news later. His McLaren teammate Lando Norris ends up second. Valtteri Bottas' Mercedes third. Rest of your top 10, Charles Leclerc, Sergio Perez, Carlos Sainz, Lance Stroll, Fernando Alonso, George Russell, and Esteban Ocon. Verstappen scores no points, neither does Hamilton, so Verstappen still has the lead over Hamilton, 226.5 to 221.5. Then Bottas, 141, 132 for Lando Norris, 118 for Sergio Perez. There's a nice little battle there. Charles Leclerc's got 104, Carlos Sainz, 97.5, 83 for Daniel Ricciardo, Pierre Gasly, 66, 50 for Fernando Alonso, sitting 10th in the points for now. Bottas' third-place finish also helped expand the Constructors' Cup lead for Mercedes, is now 362.5 to 344.5 over Red Bull. McLaren and Ferrari battling it out for third. McLaren 215 to Ferrari's 201.5. Then you got 95 for Alpine, 84 for AlphaTauri, Aston Martin for 59. That's going to be a battle for Aston Martin. 22 for Williams. Alfa Romeo's got 3, and remaining at 0, and probably will for the remainder of the year, Haas F1.
Yep.
And then we get to race or round, whatever you want to call it, race round number 1 of the 6-event countdown to the championship in the NHRA. It was held at Maple Grove Raceway in Pennsylvania in Top Fuel. It was a Torrance who made it to the finals, but it wasn't Steve. It was Billy who took on Justin Ashley. Ashley actually bested Torrance off the light, but the engine dropped a cylinder. Torrance blew past him and claimed the win with a 3.720 ET at 326.08 miles per hour. was John Force and Tommy Johnson Jr. meeting up in the finals of Funny Car. Force was actually quicker off the light, but Johnson was leading as they passed the Christmas tree. He gets the win over the legend, 3.926 ET, 330.23 miles per hour. Pro Stock Car, Greg Anderson taking on Erica Enders. Anderson quicker off the light. This time it's stuck. Anderson wins with a 6.578 ET, 208.73 miles per hour. And Pro Stock Motorcycle saw the finals with, Alabama's own Stevie Johnson.
Nice.
Taking on Eddie Krawick. Krawick a tick faster off the light, but Johnson was ahead by the Christmas tree. He gets the win, 6.775 ET, 196.87 miles per hour. Congratulations, Steve. In points, Steve Torrance still holds the lead in Top Fuel. He's got 12 points up on Brittany Force, 42 over Billy Torrance, 55 ahead of Justin Ashley. Leah Pruitt's fifth, down 66. Funny Car, John Force is your leader, 5 points over Matt Hagan. Matt Hagan, by the way, gets the points that Tommy Johnson Jr. scored for winning the Funny Car division. John Force is 15 up on Ron Capps, 39 ahead of J.R. Todd. Robert Hyde is fifth, 51 back. Greg Anderson leads Pro Stock Car points over Erica Enders by 41 points. Aaron Stanfield, 95 back. Dallas Glenn, 99 down, 107 back already is Kyle Koretsky. That's the biggest gap in all of the divisions. While Steve Johnson with the win jumps into the Pro Stock Motorcycle points lead. Cool.
Sweet.
12 points up on Matt Smith. Eddie Krawick, 37 down, 59 back for Angel Sampay. Scotty Polachek's fifth in points, 70 points out. And one more race to note. Final 3 races of the 2021 IndyCar season. The first of those 3 wrapped up the weekend's racing. It was in Portland, Oregon. After he grabbed the pole position, the youngster Alex Below was able to stay ahead of the chaos, but only 10 laps in, he seemed to be in trouble on his own. He was running 16th. But 100 laps later, as they do, things change. He and the crew got it figured out. They were back out front, and he ends up claiming his 3rd win of this season. Below bests Alexander Rossi by more than 1.2 seconds at the checkered flag. Scott Dixon 3rd, Jack Harvey 4th, Joseph Newgarden 5th. Rest of your top 10, Felix Rosenquist, Marcus Ericsson, Colton Herta, Scotty McLaughlin, Graham Rahal. With 2 races left, Palou has a 25-point lead over Pato O'Ward. Joseph Newgarden's 3rd, 34 points back. Scott Dixon, for the sake of argument, 49 down. Marcus Ericsson is 5th, 75 points out of 1st. With only 2 races left, I'm not going to count out Scott Dixon, 6-time champ.
Never, ever, ever count Scott Dixon out. Never.
But, sorry, Marcuson, I'm kind of going to drop you out of this. I think it's a 4-person battle.
Yeah.
The rookie battle, well, we know one's already out. Has been for a while. It's between 2. Scotty McLaughlin, he's 38 points up on Romain Grosjean. Still possible. So we'll see what happens there. This weekend schedule actually started on Thursday night. Camping World Truck Series in action, running the UNOH 200 presented by Ohio Logistics at Bristol Motor Speedway. Must-win race for 2 drivers looking to continue with their championship hopes. For one of those drivers, he had his Hail Mary pay off when on the final restart, lap 196 of 200. Sheldon Creed and Chandler Smith made contact. It cut a tire on Creed's truck, who had won the first 2 segments and looked like he was probably going to win the race.
He had led every lap.
Yeah. His night all but over at that point, certainly competitively. Mm-hmm. Smith, on the other hand, is able to soldier on. He holds off the field. He gets an upset win and advances to the next playoff round. Final top 10 in the race, Grant Enfinger second, trailed by John Hunter Nemechek, Stuart Friesen, Johnny Sauter, Carson Hocevar, Matt Kraft, and Zane Smith. That's important. Ben Rhodes and Todd Gilliland. The 2 drivers knocked out of the playoffs are not the Smith boys. They're actually Austin Hill and Todd Gilliland. Austin Hill, horrible night at Bristol.
Yeah, that's an understatement.
So here are the drivers that move on in the playoffs. They are, in seed order, John Hunter Nemechek, Sheldon Creed, Ben Rhodes, Zane Smith, Chandler Smith, Matt Crafton, Carson Hocevar, and Stuart Friesen. And I can tell you right now, my predictions for the Camping World Truck Series playoff bracket have just been shot.
Same here. Same here.
I had both Smith boys going out in the first round.
I had Austin Hill as a champion. He's out.
Yeah. Well, my champion's still alive.
Yep.
I can say that. Last night, NASCAR continued. Bristol hosted the Xfinity Series, running the Food City 300 match. You got the details of the final regular season race for this particular crew.
The quite eventful.
Isn't it always?
I'm not sure if eventful is an adequate way to describe it. But when you go to a green-white checker finish at Bristol, you have three people. The cars of A.J. Allmendinger, Austin Cindric, and Justin Allgaier going 3 wide at points, going for the win. Justin Allgaier takes it 3 wide to go into turn 1 on lap 1. Misfires on the corner. A.J. Allmendinger clears the bottom, takes the lead going into turn 3 on the last lap. Going into the white flag lap, they go 3 wide again. And Dinger clears again. Austin Cindric sails it off into 3 and 4, guns it, hammers it, and you can tell he was full bore on the floorboard.
Oh, no kidding. He sailed it off.
He sailed it in there for sure. And comes across the start-finish line. Both cars sideways. A.J. Allmendinger wins the race sideways, crossing the line, and destroys about I think it was about 8 cars in the process. But Dinger going on to win, claiming the regular season championship, and with a tie for the playoff seeding between him and Cindric. Ooh. But Austin Cindric gets the tiebreaker due to wins.
Yep, that he does. Well, all righty then. So here's the rest of your schedule for this weekend. Tonight, NASCAR puts the Cup Series on Bristol Motor Speedway. It's the Bass Pro Shops night race, and NBC still doesn't get it, so they put it on the NBC Sports Network.
Yeah.
Could have put it on the main network. I'm just saying. NPRN radio begins 7:30 p.m. Eastern, 6:30 p.m. Central Time. Sunday's racing begins with the NHRA as they have the DeWalt Carolina Nationals at ZMAX Dragway in Charlotte. Finals begin tomorrow afternoon, 2 p.m. Eastern, 1 p.m. Central Time, and pending NFL coverage in certain markets, either Fox or Fox Sports 1. Check your local listings, as they say. And then out west, we get the Indycar Series. They're running the Firestone Grand Prix of Monterey. Rolls on the 11-turn, 2.238-mile-long WeatherTech Raceway Laguna Seca, which includes the famed corkscrew. They will put that on NBC and on the IRN radio network, 3 p.m. Eastern, 2 p.m. Central Time. It's not like they got to worry about the NFL until tomorrow night.
Yeah. There's somebody I got to give a tip of the cap to.
Please do.
Last night in the Xfinity Series race, we had a driver making his inaugural oval start in a stock car.
Okay.
Sight unseen. Sight unseen going into Bristol. Never turned a lap there.
That's not a small hill to climb.
No, that's pretty much you're getting ready to go into a baptismal of fire and water.
Yeah, that's another way to put it.
Sage Karam finishes 16th in his inaugural start.
Not bad at all.
After starting 32nd.
Not bad at all.
No. And he kept the car clean, too.
If he can't find a full-time ride in IndyCar, which he's been having a hard time doing that over the last couple of years anyway.
Yeah.
Maybe there's a future.
I don't know. He's got a couple more starts to go.
Because, he's got a proving ground here. Mm-hmm. But if you can get on to Bristol for the first time ever in a stock car, which you're not overly familiar with anyway, and you can get a top 20 at Bristol, that pops some eyebrows, I bet.
And he has one more start on an oval this year in a truck for Jordan Anderson.
All right.
At Martinsville.
Some eyebrows maybe popped. Sage Karam, you got a great opportunity.
Yep.
Speaking of popping eyebrows, this may not be in such a good way, just to let you know. If you happen to have been going around your house and you notice some cracks in the bricks on the outside or maybe on the inside on your basement walls or on the sheetrock somewhere, or maybe even worse, standing water somewhere in the house like a basement or crawl space. These are just some of the indications that there could be a foundation problem with your house. You're going to want to get that checked out. We've got the guy that can do it for you. We got the guy who you need to call to make sure that there is no problem with your foundation. His name is Michael Hart. Michael Hart has done work for me. He has done work with John. He's done work with Matt. We all know Michael. We can all vouch for Michael. We can all tell you that Michael is not going to try and sell you something for the sake of selling you something. If there's nothing wrong, he's going to let you know on paper, and you'll part ways, and that's going to be the way it goes. But if he says that there's something wrong, you can take it to the bank. There's something wrong.
He's a stand-up guy.
Absolutely, 110%. And here's the thing. He's going to come out if you call him at 205-362-6419 or set up the appointment by email, mike@oxfoundations.com. He'll come out at the appropriated time, at the time that you guys set up, on the day that you guys set up, give you a no-cost, no-obligation written foundation assessment. Again, there's nothing wrong. He hands it to you, you shake hands, you part ways, that's it. On the other hand, if there is something wrong, now you have it detailed and you have an estimate of how much it's going to cost to fix. Now, if you happen to just throw that over there off to the side on some counter and forget about it, and you leave it untreated, we're talking later on down the line, multiply that number that Michael Hart quoted you 2, 3, 4, maybe even 5 times as much. We're talking tens of thousands of dollars in damage, and that's coming out of your pocket. So figure it out right now. Find out. Call Michael Hart and Ox Foundation Solutions. Get that no-cost, no-obligation written foundation assessment. Set up the appointment now, 205-362-6419, or email him at mike@oxfoundations.com. If you happen to have to need work done, use Ox Foundations. Mention the promo code WEST. You'll get 15% off the quote that he just gave you. So go ahead and set that appointment up. If you need the work done, remember the promo code WEST. Get that 15% off. Tell him you heard about it right here on CRN.
We will be right back with more on the Championship Racing Network. And back out to the track for more action on the Championship Racing Network.
Welcome back in. We kick off news as hour number 2 will be all about NASCAR with Formula One. We head back to Monza. A couple of quick notes on last weekend's Formula One race. Let's get back and detail that tangle between Verstappen and Hamilton that we talked about in the race recap. Hamilton coming out of the pits just ahead of Verstappen. Verstappen was trying to force a pass, trying to get inside of the 7-time champion as they were going through turn 2. Hamilton still ahead of Verstappen. Verstappen gets into Hamilton's car. Their tires connect. This causes Verstappen's car to jump over Hamilton's and go sliding off the track. When they come to a stop, Verstappen's car sitting on top of Hamilton's, and as you look at it, the Red Bull car's right rear tire is actually resting on the helmet of Lewis Hamilton. Hamilton had very high praise for the Halo system as mandated by Formula One beginning last year. Added that while he does have neck pain, he would be working with a specialist to alleviate it, and then added this, quote, "Thank God for that Halo." That ultimately, I think, saved me, saved my neck. I don't think I've ever been hit in the head by a car before, and it's quite a shock for me because I don't know if you've seen it, but the image in my head is really quite far forward. I saw a still shot, very much so.
Yes.
If it had been a situation where that halo had not been there, with Hamilton's head leaning forward like that, in all likelihood, and I hate to say this, the weight of Verstappen's car probably comes down on his neck and snaps it.
He is more than likely does, but the halo did take away a lot of it, no doubt.
Didn't take away all of it, but took away a lot of
It
it.
took away a lot of it, but there was another angle of a still shot that I saw as well. The tail of the gearbox section on the car,
Yeah.
actually was on top of what do you call that? The piece that rises up like where the television camera sits in the car.
Oh, yeah.
The little piece, a lot of it was sitting on that as well.
Mm.
The bottom probably quarter or maybe eighth, a little small, the small part of the bottom of the small section of the tire that hangs below where the belly of the car and the bottom of the gearbox is.
Yeah.
That's what had his head forced down. But a lot of that back there on the top high piece of the car took a lot of the pressure off of it.
The cowl.
The cowl area, yeah.
Wow. Due to this incident, by the way, which race stewards determined was more than avoidable by Verstappen, and because they couldn't give him the penalty for that particular race because he was out, they have handed the points leader a 3 grid spot penalty for the next race. So, in other words, wherever Max qualifies for the race next weekend, he will actually end up starting 3 positions back from that. I've seen the replay of this whole incident. I say more than avoidable. My words, not Formula One's. I think he got off easy. I would have given him at least a 5 grid spot penalty. And here's the other thing that gets me. I don't know whether Verstappen has actually looked at this and changed his mind, but in the immediate aftermath, Max Verstappen was ticked off that Lewis Hamilton didn't give him the room. Lewis Hamilton had the position going into the turn, which means he had the right to the turn. Verstappen was the one in the wrong.
Yeah, it's the way me talking with a helmet on. We'll say it that way. You could see it both sides. You could see both arguments. But, I mean, that early in the race and the way the cars had the positions going in the corners, let it go. I mean, because that Red Bull's just as fast as that Mercedes, and you can get him at another point of the track.
Potentially faster.
Yeah. I mean, that's the only way you can say it.
Yeah. On top of that, Max was handed a 2-point penalty on his F1 Super license, but he's got to get 12 in a 12-month period, and he's nowhere near that, so I wouldn't worry about that. Red Bull team boss Christian Horner said that he felt it was just a racing incident. I disagree with you, Christian. He also added, though, that the team would not appeal the F1 verdict on the penalties, which I think is a fantastic move on your part. Then there's a much better note related to the Italian Grand Prix, and this is Daniel Ricciardo. Last year, Ricciardo, when he was racing for Renault, now Alpine, he made a bet with his boss. And then early on the year, he mentioned the fact that he was going to be leaving Renault at the end of the year to move to McLaren. But when he claimed a podium finish last year, to his credit, the Renault team boss paid off the bet and got a tattoo.
Yeah, he did.
This year, coming to McLaren, he ends up coming into a bet again, this time with the McLaren team boss, Zach Brown, no, not the country singer. And because he won, he triggered this need to be paid off debt. See, Zach Brown has quite a collection of older race cars. In there is a certain 1984 number 3 Chevrolet Monte Carlo wrapped in Wrangler colors. Dale Earnhardt fans know exactly the car I'm talking about. Zach Brown promised Ricciardo a chance to test that car should he claim a podium finish this year. As to where and when that test will be, Brown hasn't said. One would assume Silverstone in Britain, but Brown hasn't said. But Ricciardo said that Earnhardt is a, quote, big hero of mine, unquote, and added that it will be a, quote, pinch me moment. Yeah, I bet it will.
Dear Zach Brown, make this, what's the right way for me to say it here? Make this good. Make this count.
Mm-hmm.
Make it right.
Mm-hmm.
Put that car, ship that car. The 747 that you put it on, since the car is in England,
Yeah.
ship it over here. Make sure that the pilot that's on that 747 into his little black box puts in the letters KBHM. Landed at Birmingham Shuttlesworth International.
Mm-hmm. Which can handle a 747?
I will personally come haul the car for you to Talladega Superspeedway.
Sure.
Come test that car over here. Let him drive it over here.
Yeah. Let him get a feel for what Dale Earnhardt loved so much, racing at Daytona and Talladega.
Make it all right with the world.
Let's do that. I like that idea. Meanwhile, over to Aston Martin, they are serious about making sure that they begin to climb up the standings for their drivers, and as a team. As such, they unveiled plans this past week to begin construction on a new multi-purpose facility that will not only serve as the team's race shop, but include a new simulator for the drivers, both Formula One drivers and their reserve drivers. And they're set to build their own wind tunnel at a base in Silverstone, England, right near the famed racecourse. It's quite the history for this team that began as Jordan back in 1991, named after former F1 racer Eddie Jordan, continuing through 2005 with that name before they became Midland F1 for 06. That lasted for all of 1 year. They were sold to Spiker Cars that became Spiker MF1 Racing in 07, then just Spiker F1 before they were sold to Force India in 2008 after the sale to Indian businessman Vijay Malaya. Malaya soldiers on as a team owner through 2018, but let's just say he came into some legal issues. Midway through the 2018 season, the racers pushed the team into administration. Could look at it kind of like bankruptcy court by UK officials because of his legal troubles. That ultimately led to the purchase by Canadian businessman Lawrence Stroll. Then Stroll also invested in the British car company Aston Martin and combined the two, returning the name to F1. Stroll noted that the current facility has changed very little, actually, since Jordan built it back in 1991. So knowing that, he began buying the land surrounding the current facility, one building, and then unveiled the 3-building construction plans reported to cost at least £150 million, maybe up to £200 million, depending on labor costs. Once done, it'll be about 400,000 square feet in total, allow the team to stop, by the way, also using the Mercedes wind tunnel whenever it's completed, a date not yet revealed. I'm going to say 2023 at the earliest.
Yeah, I'd say that's a fair date for it for sure. Building three construction plants
And a fully operational wind
Yeah.
tunnel? Yeah,
I would even say 2024.
possibly. So with all that changing, one thing that's not going to change is the driver lineup, which I think is actually a smart move on their part. They announced Thursday they were going to stick with Lance Stroll, there's a shock, and Sebastian Vettel for 2 years in a row. Stroll's the son of the team owner Lawrence Stroll. That seat is secure as long as Lance wants it. Vettel, on the other hand, came to Aston Martin this year on a 1-and-1 contract, meaning 1 year with an Aston Martin option to continue for the second. They decided to go ahead and pick it up. Like I said, I think that's a smart rule. And then there's this. A new F1 rule is set to come into play, but a time frame has not yet been confirmed on this, according to motorsport.com. That Formula One teams are going to be required to give junior drivers a Friday practice run on selected weekends. Now, Williams and Alfa Romeo have, up to now, been really the only teams to regularly take advantage of the ability to run their development drivers in practice sessions. But F1 Managing Director Ross Brawn said that he wants to change that moving forward, hoping that it will help F1 long-term, in other words, develop drivers more quickly.
Mm-hmm.
Braun said after Monza, quote, Friday running is coming in. On Friday, each team will have to run an FP1, Formula Practice Session number 1, with a rookie. We're being very careful about how we define a rookie, so let's wait and see how we define it. I think it's next year they're going to need to run a young driver on Friday. Every team, a certain number of occasions. Well, there's a fly in that ointment. Several teams actually don't have a specified driver development program at this time, and that does include bigger names like McLaren, who will now have to figure out where they're going to get that driver or drivers should this rule actually come into play. I'll give you another another team on that. Haas F1 doesn't really have a specified driver development program. If you're looking for an American-based driver for the American-based team, I invite you to look right there.
I know how to get to the shop. Another quick note about it.
Have fire suit and helmet. Will travel.
My stuff is FIA legal and certified.
There you go.
A quick note about F1 that I saw late last night.
Okay.
A couple of weeks ago, we did confirm and that we did state on the show, and it was confirmed there was a season 3 of Drive to Survive for Netflix.
Yes.
It was confirmed through the ESPN website.
Oh, okay.
With their F1 category.
Yep.
With their F1 section. The Netflix crew was following McLaren at Monza.
Oh, timing. Nicely done.
Daniel Ricciardo confirmed it.
Nice. Very nice.
Yep.
All right. This is going to be interesting.
This should be fun to
They
watch.
do it. They do that very well. They've gotten better over the course of the season so far. And, hey, knock it out, man. I think it'll be fantastic. I'm looking forward to it.
Yep.
All right, let's go on to Formula E, where another seat has been filled. Rocket Venturi Racing has announced that they will be keeping Eduardo Mortara next year, but they're adding Lucas de Grassi. De Grassi moves over to join him from his Audi Sport ABT Schaeffler ride. Mortara finished second in final points in the season, just ended his fourth in the organization. As for de Grassi, he's actually the most experienced driver in Formula E currently. He's been racing in it since season 1, race 1. All of them for Audi Sport ABT Schaeffler up to now. He had never finished lower than third in final points until the last 2 seasons and actually won the 2016-2017 series title. The last 2 years, he has finished 6th and 7th in final points, and that all prompted the change, ultimately being replaced by Norman Nato. Prompting the change, replacing Norman Nato. So, Rocket Venturi Racing, I could see them stepping up in their performance next year. Lucas de Grassi brings in a wealth of experience and can probably easily tell Rocket Venturi, this is what we're just barely missing. Tweak it, we're good.
No doubt. No doubt.
I like it. To IndyCar, this isn't a shock because we've pretty much been talking about it for about a month because Ryan Hunter-Reay said it about a month ago to motorsports reporters. But now it's official with Andretti Autosport officials confirming it. Ryan Hunter-Reay not going to be back with the team in 2022. The team on social media on Tuesday stated that the longest tenured driver currently running in IndyCar will be seeking a new ride next year. 2012 Series champion and 2014 Indy 500 winner has experienced some of the best that the series has to offer, but now he's looking for a ride. He has 18 wins in IndyCar competition, 15 of those with Andretti Autosport. He's also driven for Rahal Letterman Lanigan Racing for his first couple of years. Some select races for AJ Foyt Enterprises. That was all in IndyCar specifically. Before that, he raced in Champ Car or Kart before the split ended up finally ending and they got back together. I don't think Ryan Hunter-Reay will have too much of a problem finding a seat.
No, not enough. He won't have a problem finding a seat at all because he's got too much.
He's still got too much left.
He's got too much left. He's got too many feathers in his cap.
Yeah. I think he brings way more positives than negatives.
Way more, no doubt.
Andretti Autosport has not said who's going to take Ryan Hunter-Reay's place in the number 28 Honda-powered entry, preferring to give Hunter-Reay the chance to shine without taking away the spotlight over the final 2 races with the team. I can appreciate that, but in the end, you're going to have to figure it out sooner or later. I get the feeling they know who they're going to put in the car. They just haven't said.
If it's not the flying Frenchman, Phoenix guy, whatever he calls himself now.
It's easy for you to say.
Romain Grosjean, I'll be surprised.
Here's the thing, though. Does he take the 28 or does he get the 29? Because that's the other Andretti Autosport ride, currently driven by James Hinchcliffe, who has also learned he's out of that ride officially next year, even though Andretti hasn't announced who's going to replace either driver. Hinch is now 34. He says he feels like he's got plenty left and will be racing in 2022, but he isn't sure where. And I like James Hinchcliffe, don't get me wrong.
Yeah.
Ryan Hunter-Reay, to me, is the more solid choice between the two drivers if I'm an IndyCar owner looking for a good driver.
Agreed.
Hinchcliffe says he could be IndyCar, could be IMSA, could be SRX. Tony Stewart, Ray Evernham, you listening?
I would be willing to bet he does drive SRX next year.
He's very familiar with it.
Oh, no doubt.
They're all options that Hinch has said he would consider. But over the last, 5 of the 6 races of the SRX series, Hinchcliffe was the guy in the commentating booth? I know it was 4. I want to say it was 5.
I'm pretty sure it was 4.
Okay. I know Danica Patrick was in for race number 1, and then she just up and disappeared into thin air. And all of a sudden, it's James Hinchcliffe.
Yeah, because...
Well, in her defense, she got banged up on the way to the second race. Yeah, she scraped the wall.
So Hinchcliffe is talking about broadcasting as well, which Danica Patrick apparently is not. And on that note, we'll take a break right here on CRN.
Don't touch that dial. The Championship Racing Network will be right back. Go. We're back to the Championship Racing Network.
Well, silly season is in full effect in IndyCar, like in NASCAR. We just talked about 2 Andretti Autosport rides, specifically Ryan Hunter-Reay and James Hinchcliffe know that they're out. They are looking for rides next year. Another driver changing teams and knowing where he's going next year is one Takuma Sato. The 2-time Indy 500 winner was told earlier this year he was not returning to Rahal Letterman Lanigan after this year, and Motorsport.com is reporting that Sato and Dale Coyne Racing are close to a deal for next year, even though Coyne is saying that Sato is among 4 or 5 drivers under consideration. This would be the seat that the 2021 Rookie of the Year contender Romain Grosjean is set to leave. That's the number 51 that is entered in conjunction with Rick Ware Racing. As you mentioned, Romain Grosjean is heading to Andretti Autosport for 2022. Dude, you could do so much worse than Takuma Sato.
Yeah, you really could. I mean, you could... Cody Ware. I mean...
We'll just leave that right
Yep,
there.
we'll leave that right there.
Later on in the show, we're going to talk preliminary, or we're actually going to talk the 2022 NASCAR Cup Series schedule. We're going to talk the 2022 Camping World drag racing schedule in the NHRA. But first, IndyCar 2022. An official slate has not been revealed, but according to Racer.com, we might move up from a 17-race schedule that we have this year to an 18-race schedule next year, with reports that both Iowa and Toronto are set to return to the IndyCar schedule. Of course, that's assuming that Canada allows it. Racer.com projects that the 2022 season will begin the final weekend of February, St. Petersburg, so we'll put them back at their regular spot. Then roll on to Texas Motor Speedway, Long Beach in March, and then coming to Barber Motorsports Park the first weekend in May. So May 1st, Barber. Here's the thing. May becomes even busier, okay? May 1st, Barber. May 14th, Indy Road Course. And then 2 weeks later, Memorial Day weekend, running the Indy 500, the weekend before, of course, being what they call carburation or qualifying day. June would kick off with the Detroit Belle Isle doubleheader weekend, then to Road America, July 4th weekend, like they did this year, Mid-Ohio, then to Toronto, again, assuming Canada allows it, then return to Iowa for a doubleheader weekend. Head back to Indy for a second road course race. This would, of course, team again with NASCAR that weekend. We'll get into that weekend later. 2 races in August, which would be the return of Nashville and going to Worldwide Tech Raceway at Gateway, and then wrapping up the season next September with 2 races, Portland and WeatherTech Raceway Laguna Seca. Again, if the season holds, as they state, it would mark 18 races total. I hope it works. I hope that it works.
I do too.
And then to the NHRA. The young Foley Lewis racing team has nabbed a veteran crew chief to help them finish off 2021 strong and try to get a jump start on 2022. And to do it, they're making some moves. The first move is to bring on veteran crew chief Aaron Brooks, who has worked with several Top Fuel and Funny Car teams, but over the past few years, he has spent his time assisting small independent teams, kind of like Foley Lewis Racing, either to get off the ground or to make the right moves to become a full-time competitive operation. So, following this weekend's Carolina Nationals, the team is also set to temporarily relocate. They have their base in Mooresville, North Carolina, but they're going to move their operations to Brownsburg, Indiana, just outside of Indianapolis, which will give Brooks better access to work with the team for the remainder of this season and into the offseason to build them up. So Brooks, this is how much Foley Lewis Racing is bending over for Brooks.
Yeah.
They're moving to him instead of moving Brooks to them.
I think it's a little bit cheaper to move the human instead of moving all the assets of the team.
Apparently, whatever Aaron Brooks said in the interview impressed them enough to stay.
Oh, we had to have.
We'll relocate our
It
operation.
had to have.
That's not a small thing.
No.
That ain't a small thing
No.
at all. So, I will say this. I hope that it pays off for them.
Yeah. I mean, if you're going to move from motorsports capital of the world, arguably,
Yeah.
to Brownsburg, Indiana, yeah, I hope it works for them too, and it doesn't bite them in the you-know-what.
Yeah. And there, if you noticed it last month when I had the opportunity to go to Indianapolis and I took in the doubleheader NASCAR IndyCar weekend up there, we posted a lot of pictures on the website, crnradio.us. Exactly where can they find those pictures there, John? What is everything that they're looking for in order to find the proper spot to see all those pictures?
I have no clue.
You have no clue. Thank you.
Come on, John.
Controller of our website.
Come on, John.
Loads me with a whole lot of confidence, don't it? Seriously, if I were going to go onto the site, I would look at...
One of 2 places.
Okay.
Either go to What's New,
Okay.
which also holds our updated live stream.
Right.
And then you could also go to the archives.
There you go.
Archives holds everything that we have from
It goes back a ways.
2010.
I was about to say, it goes back a ways. I was recently kind of perusing the archive section, and There's a lot of pictures there. So, yeah, check it out. In and around Indianapolis, I didn't get the chance to go in and see a whole lot of the Indycar race shops. But where we kind of set up and met our friends, there were actually not just one but two NHRA teams that had shops there. One is the main location for Don Schumacher Racing. The other is a satellite location for John Force Racing. John Force is based out of California, but they got a satellite shop in Indiana or just outside of Indianapolis.
Mm-hmm.
So it was kind of cool to see them.
Stalker.
Yes, thank you. I appreciate that. And then there's the 2022 schedule for the NHRA. The first couple of years that we covered the NHRA, and I say this specifically for the top levels, used to be the Mellow Yellow Drag Racing Series, now called the Camping World Drag Racing Series. When we started, Top Fuel and Funny Car, which run every single event, were doing 24 events.
Yeah.
And then you drop down, Pro Stock Car, Pro Stock Motorcycle would run about 18 of those. COVID comes along,
Right.
and suddenly we lose this, that, and the other thing. We drop from 24 to 23 events. In some ways, it kind of gets worse next year. We go down to 22 events in the official schedule for next year. Here's the plans to head back out to California for the Winter Nationals to once again be the season opener, February 17th through the 20th.
Yeah.
Then you go to Arizona, come to Florida for the Gator Nationals. Then you head back out west to Vegas. There's weeks off in between there. Then Houston, Charlotte, Richmond, New Hampshire, Bristol, Tennessee, Ohio. Start out the West Coast swing, Denver, Sonoma, Seattle. Start coming back this way, Topeka, Kansas, Minnesota, and then Indianapolis, and that wraps up the regular season, if you will. And your six-pack of races in the countdown to the championship begins as it does this year. Actually, very little change from this year to next. Starts in Pennsylvania, goes to Charlotte, then to St. Louis, then to Dallas, then to Vegas, and wraps up the season as it began next year, according to the schedule, in Pomona, California. They did not replace Atlanta. You might remember we told you this right about the time that Atlanta was looming on the schedule for the Southern NHRA National, the NHRA Southern Nationals. Atlanta announced that this year, 2021, was the last year for them in the NHRA's top level of drag racing. And again, the NHRA chose not to replace them. They just said, okay, we'll drop from 23 to 22 events.
It's sad. Sad because it leaves really no true southeastern track for NHRA anymore.
No. I mean, think about the massive area that they're skipping. I get it that they go to Richmond. I get it that they go to Bristol. I get it that they go to the Gator Nationals in Gainesville, Florida. But you're skipping over
Right.
Georgia, South Carolina, Alabama, Mississippi, Louisiana, Arkansas. All of that is effectively skipped. The next closest are St. Louis and Dallas and Houston.
Mm-hmm.
That's a very wide area that is being left out.
Yeah. Big area, no doubt.
I hope somebody figures it out. I hope somebody steps up. Montgomery? Probably not, but hey, we could always hope. Right?
Honestly, outside of Atlanta, Montgomery is the only true NHRA capable drag strip that I know of.
Yeah, because I don't know of one in Mississippi, not NHRA capable. I don't know one of Louisiana.
No.
Is there one in Memphis? Memphis Motorsports Park?
Yes, it is.
So you could do Memphis.
You could. They actually have been to Memphis before, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, and
I
that's you could split it out enough to the point where it and St. Louis wouldn't scalp tickets from each other. There's enough room in that
yeah.
schedule to where you can split the two of them far enough apart. You're not going to rip one sale off of another.
Yeah, you could.
Because I don't know of one really in Nashville.
No, I'm pretty sure NHRA has been to Memphis before. I know IHRA has.
Yeah. And it probably wouldn't take much to get it ready for the NHRA if you needed to do anything.
Oh, no, because when I went up, it's now been it was last year.
I know. Seems like so long ago.
Seems like it's been so long ago.
Uh-huh.
It was last year when we went to Memphis for the ARCA event.
Right.
Somebody had a Top Fuel car at the track testing, because every time they went for a pass, everyone would go to the edge of the stands and corral back there, go to the top and corral the edge of it just to watch the Top Fuel car make the pass.
Sure. Why not?
While the ARCA race was under caution.
There you go. I'd have done it too.
I would have too, because when you hear in the stands shake, you hear,
Uh-huh.
what is that?
Yeah.
Ooh, somebody's got a Top Fuel car.
But here, we talk about the fact that we've changed the name in some cases.
Right.
But the Southern 500 is always going to be, in NASCAR terms, the Southern 500. I don't care what they end up calling it. In Darlington, Labor Day weekend, it's the Southern 500.
Yeah.
Here's a primetime opportunity for a Montgomery, for a Memphis. I would hope for Montgomery, no disrespect to Memphis. Here's a prime opportunity to revive the Southern Nationals. Atlanta wants to give it up. Pick it up. Run with it.
I'll tell you what, if you had, let's just word it this way, the right investor or the investors,
Sure.
you could get steel going.
Sure. Yeah, you could.
You could get steel going. You would have to revamp the facility, but you could get steel going.
Yeah, and I'm thinking of accessibility as well. Steel wouldn't be too bad. Montgomery might be easier, though.
No doubt, Montgomery would be way easier.
Yeah.
I mean, both of them have good proximity to an interstate corridor.
Yeah.
But Montgomery's facility is more up to date than Steele's is.
Yeah.
Even though, like I said, the right investor and the investors, you could transform Steele pretty quick.
Yeah. You could transform Montgomery that much quicker.
Even quicker. Exactly.
Heck, I'd drive an hour from Birmingham to go see it.
I would too.
Let's take a break. When we come back, we're going to switch, and it will become all about NASCAR. We'll talk NASCAR's 2022 schedule. For those of you watching on YouTube, by the way,
buddy,
you will not just be watching these faces, like this one right here, which was meant for radio, but you're also going to get a visual representation of the 2022 schedule. And you'll get an idea why we say somebody at NASCAR needs to get a map. Because, honestly, if I'm a race team owner, and I don't care whether I'm Rick Hendrick, Joe Gibbs, Tony Stewart, or I'm Rick Ware, or another team that is kind of week to week and not making that much money, I'm going to be really upset over the fuel bill. Let's just put it that way. There's your hint. We'll detail it when we come back. Hour 1 in the books. Hour 2 coming up right here on CRN.
Stay right here for more on the Championship Racing Network. cans of fuel, and we're back to more racing action on the Championship Racing Network.
Hey, welcome back in. Hour number 2 getting underway here at the Championship Racing Network. Appreciate you joining us this week.
Absolutely.
Plenty to get to here as we are into hour number 2. We have talked Formula 1, Formula E, NHRA, Indycar, all of last week, schedule for this weekend. It's NASCAR time. Let's get with the news first. We talked about the schedule. NASCAR did release the official 2022 Cup Series schedule on Tuesday. That'll be the final story for the show. Stay close. But that being said, I do want to give you one note. If you notice right over there, Matt's got his soapbox ready. The Busch Clash, the annual cash grab that kicks off the season, is moving to the L.A. Coliseum. They're going to work up a makeshift quarter-mile short track to hold the season-opening cash grab. And then on top of that, instead of being open only select drivers and teams, it becomes what they call an open invitational for all Cup teams. Yeah, I know. According to NASCAR's Executive VP Steve O'Donnell, full process for determining who will be trying to get into this particular event for the ultimate prize has yet to be fully fleshed out. But he said that heat races will likely be used to whittle the field down to about 20 to 25 cars maximum for the Clash in and of itself. The 2021 Clash, held at Daytona, as it has been every year since it came into being back in 1979, had 21 entries. Those 21 entries were 2020 pole winners, past Clash and or Daytona 500 or Daytona 500 pole winners, all who ran full-time in 2020. And then later on, they started to think, well, maybe that might still be a little bit too small of a field to put out on Daytona, so they added in 2020 Cup playoff drivers, all race winners, and stage winners. Again, we ended up with 21 entries. About half of an average Daytona 500 field. That's on a 2.5-mile banked track of Daytona. Now you're going to try and put 20 to 25 cars out on a quarter-mile track. Half the size of the track they're racing on tonight at Bristol. And they still haven't figured out how they're going to whittle the field down fully, nor how they're going to open it up to everybody who wants to try to get into it.
Whatever happened to the phrase, if it ain't broke, don't fix it?
NASCAR has, for all intents and purposes, forgotten
Steve,
that phrase.
Steve, easy.
Going all the way back to the beginning of this year.
Easy, Steve.
But that's another story entirely.
Easy. We don't want to have to call Matt Coulter in on this. Yet. Keyword yet. I can't comprehend. All right. Just for the record, the soapboxes doesn't have a regular finish on it today. It's got a good coat of that non-slip grip paint like you put in the garage on
Sure.
it. Mm-hmm. Because I'm going to be standing on it for the next 56 minutes. All right. Open invitational.
Yes.
Why do you even use that phrase when you don't even know what you're going to do to start with?
Well, and here's the other question. This is a race that is similar in some ways to the All-Star race. The All-Star race is meant for selected drivers, specifically.
Exactly. They're turning.
It's a bonus.
This is what that's being turned into, the second All-Star race.
Yeah, and I don't have a problem with that. To me, this is one of those events that should be for those drivers and teams that have performed exceptionally over the last year.
that qualified and earned their spot. I agree with you.
Mhm.
But you know, one individual that has been awfully quiet, and he's got a pretty loud voice with a really big last name in the sport.
Mm.
An individual that is really staunch, that has been really staunch in the past, on bringing back the traditional format of said Busch Clash. Yes, kids, I'm talking about Dale Earnhardt Jr.
Mhm.
He's been awfully quiet about this. So I don't know where his thought process is with it. He's probably going, thank you to the good Lord above that he's not a Cup team owner yet.
Not yet.
Yet.
I get the funny feeling, and I think it's more a matter of when he becomes a Cup team owner, not if. Once he does, he will be every bit as vocal as his dad was.
If not louder.
Every bit. And that voice wields a lot of power. Still, to this day.
Oh, no doubt.
We'll get back to the whole LA Coliseum thing later. Chip Ganassi Racing, as we talked about earlier in the year, is set to go away in NASCAR terms at the end of the 2021 season. They sold off all their assets earlier this year. We're talking shop, cars, all equipment, lock, stock, and barrel to Trackhouse Racing for 2022. As for Trackhouse 2021, they're a one-car operation, and apparently they've made their personnel plans even for 2022, which led Chip Ganassi Racing to inform the North Carolina State Department of Commerce, I didn't realize they had to do this, but apparently they do, that they will permanently be laying off 55 workers effective November the 7th. If you look at November 7 on a calendar, you realize that coincides with the day of the final race of the 2021 season in Phoenix. Media in North Carolina tried to contact both Trackhouse Racing and Chip Ganassi Racing. Trackhouse referred all media inquiries to Chip Ganassi Racing. Chip Ganassi Racing has no comment.
I'm going to give you something that Justin Marks said on his social media account. And when he jumps on to bust Bob Pockris, he's serious.
You're taking on a big chunk there because Bob Pockris knows how to defend himself.
Yeah, somebody with the Charlotte Observer posted their article, and when this came out, NASCAR team to permanently lay off 55 workers as it shuts down. Here's what we know. They got their article. Bob Pockris quote tweets it. Chip Ganassi Racing has filed with the state saying up to 55 CGR employees will be laid off when Trackhouse Racing begins operations November the 8th. And in quotation marks, companies with 100-plus employees must inform the state of a layoff of 50-plus when at least 33% of the workforce. Justin Marks comes in. FYI, when a corporate entity ceases to exist in North Carolina, it must notify the NCDOL, the WARN Act, that those employees will no longer work for the company. Here's his big phrase. It does not mean they do not have jobs with Trackhouse.
There you go. It just hasn't been fully announced yet.
Bingo.
So we'll find out. We also know that Matt DiBenedetto is not going to be back in the Wood Brothers car, the number 21, next year. In fact, at this point in time, he has no ride at all. But he wanted to make sure that you guys were aware that rumors are just rumors. We've always warned you about this on this show as well. But apparently a rumor began last weekend that DiBenedetto had signed a deal to join Cowlick Racing for 2022, which caused DiBenedetto to have to take to social media to refute said rumors. He posted this, quote, "The news floating around that I signed with Cowlick Racing for next year is false. Not sure how the rumor got started, but I keep getting tons of texts about it, so I had to clear it up. I'll tag at Bob Pockris so that he can help spread the word, so I quit getting texts." As it turns out, Pockris did retweet it, and we are telling you again. He says no. I'm going to add this.
I'm going to add something too.
At least not yet.
Yeah.
Because here's the thing that we do know. Cowlick Racing's got 2 charters for 2022, 2 full-time cars. One of those will be driven the entirety of the race season with Justin Haley behind the wheel. The other one apparently is going to be split amongst other drivers.
I saw last night they're calling their all-star car.
Okay.
Matt Cowlick is calling it the Trophy Hunter car.
I like it. Among the drivers to get time behind the wheel of car number 2 is A.J. Allmendinger, which should come as no shock to anybody.
They would be dumb not to.
But the other drivers have not been announced. So it is still possible, and Sir Matt Cowlick suggested, that you get Matt DiBenedetto for however many races you can possibly get if he doesn't get a full-time ride. Which, if he doesn't get a full-time ride, that's a rip-off as well. Because Matt DiBenedetto, I know he doesn't have a win, but he is probably one of the most talented drivers out there in the Cup Series right now who does not have a win.
I'm not going to word it that way. But
That's my wording.
I fully concur with you. Fully. But there's got to be some, I don't know where it actually spurred from. But if there is something floating somewhere about him signing with Cowlick, there has to be some type of some fraction of an ounce of merit in it somewhere.
I would like to think so.
I would too.
But then again, a lot of it depends on who started this.
That's another thing as well.
We don't know who started it.
But Matt Cowlick, considering that his own company that is blowing up across the nation, sponsors the 11 car in Xfinity,
I know.
and it's open,
Mm-hmm.
he would be crazy to not get him. Because I would take that
could.
11 car all day long
Oh, yeah.
over a mid-tier to lower-tier Cup car,
I agree.
which is basically all that's left open.
Yep, I agree.
Run the 11 car, and then run the Trophy Hunter car in periodic.
Heck yeah.
Good grief.
Heck yeah.
Ma-
I'd be
if
all about that.
he gets into that 11 car next year, he's the automatic favorite to win the title. My opinion.
I can't argue that.
He's the automatic favorite.
Because Austin Cindric moves up to Cup Series next year.
Cindric's up.
A.J. Allmendinger's still full-time. That's the other Cowlick car. It could be an all-Cowlick battle.
Cowlick is becoming sneaky dangerous.
That they are. Then there's a Cup Series team who's trying to become sneaky dangerous. That's 2311 Racing. We told you last week that the interim was removed from the title of Steve Lauletta, who is now the president of 2311 Racing. And he's wasted no time in making this team his. He has taken Mike Wheeler off the war wagon as the crew chief of the number 23 and moved him into the position of director of competition for the organization. And for the new crew chief, effective this weekend at Bristol for one Bubba Wallace, is now NASCAR veteran crew chief Booty Barker. Lauletta said this move will allow Wheeler, who he calls Wheels, to help build the team into 2022 when they become a two-car full-time team. Quote, as we move towards 2022, it's important for us to put the right people in places that help us continue the growth of 2311 to the next level. As we finish out the 2021 season, this move allows Wheels to focus on our overall vision for 2311. It allows Booty to help Bubba, wow, there's a lot of B's in there, and the number 23 team to finish strong over the final 8 races. Does this, as Lauletta says, I think it does help the team. I think Mike Wheeler's got a good idea of how to help the team and bring in car number 2.
Oh, I would agree. Yeah.
Does this help Bubba Wallace bringing in Booty Barker?
I think it's going to, because Booty Barker is let me pick my words here. Booty Barker is a no-nonsense, shut up and drive the car mentality crew chief.
Yes, he is.
And he's not going to take any lip off of Wallace. That's about the simplest, easiest, most rated PG version I could rate it ever.
I really want, it's NASCAR Race Hub that does Radioactive, right?
Oh, yeah.
I really want to hear one Radioactive where Booty Barker just tells Bubba, shut up and drive.
Yeah. Yeah.
I got the car. You tell me what you need. I'll tell you that I'll get it fixed. Otherwise, shut up and drive.
Thank you. Thank you, thank you, thank you.
Because sometimes that's just what's needed.
Yep.
A couple of weeks ago, we noted here on the show, Starcom Racing had sold off their charter effective at the end of the season. Now, according to the shop foreman and a Starcom mechanical director, Charlie Langenstein, in a now since deleted Twitter post, he said this, quote, "We at Starcom Racing have been notified that our team will cease operations when the checkered flag falls in a few weeks at Phoenix." Again, that has since been deleted. In other words, he was told, get that thing off of Twitter. But
Yeah.
I'm getting the funny feeling there ain't going to be no more Starcom at the end of the year.
No.
Something I want to say I think you and I predicted when he sold off his charter.
Mm-hmm.
So that's not really a shock.
Pretty much.
Let's head down to Xfinity here. A couple of notes here. A couple of personnel moves in the Xfinity series. We begin with the return of Justin Allgaier to Junior Motorsports 2022. This is not a surprise. Allgaier will continue driving the number 7 Chevrolet Camaro with sponsorship from his longtime sponsor Brandt, continuing along as well. Next year will mark Allgaier's 7th season racing in that car and in the series. In his first 6 years driving for Junior Motorsports, Allgaier, who's now 35, has picked up 13 wins. 2 of them this year. He is locked into the playoffs and has locked himself into the playoffs for the last 5 years. He's 3rd in the standings now, and again, locked into this year's playoffs. We noted the playoff contenders. Next week, as we prepare for race number 1, we'll give you our predictions and who we think will win the Xfinity title.
Mm-hmm.
Then there's another Chevrolet operation. That's Richard Childress Racing. They've announced they have signed defending Camping World Truck Series champion Sheldon Creed to race for them full-time in 2022. Creed's got 2 wins in the 2 Camping World Truck Series races, not counting Thursday night. He is seeking to become a back-to-back champion for GMS Racing and add that to his 2018 ARCA Racing Series title. No details about the entirety of the RCR Xfinity lineup have been revealed, so we don't know right now which car number or sponsors Creed will have when he joins them next year. At this time, he is concentrating, again, on trying to win a title.
Right.
Which, if you remember, I chose him to win that back-to-back title. We'll find out.
Yeah, because my bracket is busted.
All I pretty much got left is the championship winner, so we'll see. And then you mentioned this about an hour ago when we did the race recap. A driver better known for his IndyCar exploits as one Sage Karam made his NASCAR debut with Jordan Anderson Racing at Indianapolis back in August and impressed them enough that he returned to the team for 3 more races, 2 Xfinity and 1 Camping World Truck Series event. Those 2 Xfinity Series races were last night at Bristol in the number 31, where you said he finished 16th.
Yep.
And then again at Charlotte. The Truck Series race he will get into will be in Martinsville, where he's looking to improve upon a 26th place finish from earlier on this year. Again, this is an opportunity for Sage Karam. Karam has been trying to be a full-time IndyCar driver. He just hasn't had the opportunity to become that. This may be his opportunity to become a full-time racer. Time will tell.
Yeah, I mean, it's like I said earlier, for him to go into Bristol sight unseen and keep the car in one piece and finish 16th.
Yeah.
That's pretty sporty.
Agreed. And then there's Joe Gibbs Racing. Now, Kyle Busch Motorsports in the Camping World Truck Series is, for all intents and purposes, a Joe Gibbs Racing satellite operation. And John Hunter Nemechek had dropped down from running full-time in the Cup Series in 2020 to run for Kyle Busch Motorsports and a potential title in the Camping World Truck Series this year. He is in contention for said title. But now he's also in that Joe Gibbs Racing pipeline. And they've decided they're going to finally take advantage of that. They will put him in to their number 54 Toyota Supra at 3 Xfinity Series events throughout the remainder of 2021. The first of those was Bristol last night. And then again at Texas and the season finale in Phoenix.
He actually didn't drop the 54 at Bristol. They changed it on him.
That's true.
Yeah.
All those announcements came back in June. That was then. This is now. Last night it wasn't John Hunter Nemechek, it was Ty Gibbs. Joe Gibbs Racing still wants to make sure that John Hunter gets 3 Xfinity Series races before the end of the year. So in addition to Texas and Phoenix, they will put him in the car on October the 2nd at Talladega, pulling double duty, because he's also driving the truck that day in the Camping World Truck Series race. That'll be a nice day.
Yes, it will.
I hope your nerves don't get too frayed in the Truck Series race, because you got to keep some of them for the Xfinity race.
Yes, it will.
Hey, looking at what John Hunter has done this year, the kid's impressed me. He really has. I questioned the idea of doing that.
Yeah.
Of leaving the Cup Series, granted for Front Row Motorsports, and going all the way down to the Truck Series. But when you look at the bigger picture,
Right.
again, he put himself in the Joe Gibbs Racing pipeline. Big picture, not necessarily the worst of moves, because John Hunter Nemechek is a talented kid, and it's showing.
It goes to prove to you, it's the classic saying, to prove to you, equipment can make or break a driver.
That it can. Could also make or break your house. This is why you need to call our friend Michael Hart at Ox Foundation Solutions. Because if your house is not equipped properly, in other words, with a proper foundation, this could cost you several $1,000s. And if you're just choosing to ignore it, thinking that, it's all good, no worries, later on down the line, we're talking tens of thousands of dollars in damage to get fixed. You don't want that. Your bank your bank might, but you don't want that. So don't play games. Contact our good friend Michael Hart with Ox Foundation Solutions. 205-362-6419 is his number. Or you can email him, mike at oxfoundations.com. And set up an appointment. Have him come out. He will give you a no-cost, no-obligation written foundation assessment. And that way you get peace of mind either way. You know either nothing's wrong or something is wrong, and you now know exactly what it is and how much it's going to cost to fix it. So you get the money together, and then you give Michael this promo code, WEST. And that number that he wrote down initially suddenly gets 15% lower. All because you mentioned the promo code WEST and that you heard it right here on CRN. Pretty good deal. So if you got any question about your home's foundation, set up the appointment now with Michael at 205-362-6419 or Mike at oxfoundations.com. And again, if you have a problem, remember the promo code WEST. Get 15% off of that because you heard it right here on CRN.
We will be right back with more on the Championship Racing Network. tires only, and back out to the track for more action on the Championship Racing Network.
All right, one more bit of news here. Well, actually, two more bits of news before we get into talking about the 2022 Cup Series schedule released officially on Tuesday of this week. And we're talking about the Camping World Truck Series. They are set to come to our very own backyard, Talladega Superspeedway, in a race that now officially will be known as the Chevy Silverado 250 for the second year in a row. The track and Chevrolet announced it earlier this week, second year of GM's most popular vehicle. Yes, the Chevy Silverado is their most sold vehicle. Is the title sponsor of that race, and a Chevy Silverado will also, predictably, act as the official pace truck for the race beginning at noon Eastern, 11 a.m. Central Time on that particular day. Hint, get there early. In noon Eastern, 11 a.m. Central start time on a day that also includes the Xfinity Series.
Mm-hmm.
There you go.
Yep.
Speaking of Chevrolet, you might have seen Zane Smith's number 21 GMS racing truck Thursday evening at Bristol with a noted Chevrolet dealership sponsoring him. Now, this is not totally unusual in the history of NASCAR.
No.
On many occasions, drivers would get a local Ford, Dodge, Plymouth, Oldsmobile, Chevrolet, Pontiac, whatever it was that they happened to be driving that weekend, dealership sponsor them for a race in the local area. Heck, Red Farmer still has Long Lewis Ford on the side of his car running out at Talladega Short Track.
Uh-huh.
The sponsorship on Zane Smith's number 21 GMS racing truck at Bristol, Tennessee was Carl Chevrolet. Carl Chevrolet is not anywhere near Bristol, Tennessee. Carl Chevrolet is based in Ankeny, Iowa, near Des Moines. The thing about it is, this isn't the first time that Carl Chevrolet has sponsored a GMS truck in a race not held anywhere near Iowa. Back in 2017, they sponsored Johnny Sauter in Michigan in 2017. I have some experience with Carl Chevrolet. I actually have seen them because the friends of mine that I met to go see the race in Indianapolis last month live in Des Moines in a place called Bondurant, which is right next door to Ankeny. I've been on the Carl Chevrolet lot. Whatever Chevrolet dealership you think you've been to, double it.
Yeah.
And that's Carl Chevrolet.
Uh-huh.
It's huge. I can see why they have teamed up with GMS Racing to do some of this stuff.
Yeah.
It does seem odd that it was Bristol, though. Just saying.
Absolutely.
But hey, congratulations.
No doubt.
All right. For those of you that are watching on YouTube, what you are used to seeing, which, as we look at it right now, is camera shots of myself and Matt with a big Camping World Truck Series logo. Of course, I'm on a delay. It's about to change because we're going to show you the 2022 Cup Series race schedule released Tuesday. Has, as promised, changes. We talked about it during the news at the beginning of this hour. It begins with the Busch Clash, the opening cash grab for, we thought, selected drivers. It is moving from Daytona, where it has traditionally been, to the other end of Interstate 10. NASCAR has worked out a deal with the Los Angeles Coliseum, as I like to call it, the Mausoleum, which has hosted 2 Summer Olympics games, the very first NFL Super Bowl and several since to boot, and some noted college football because it is also the home of the USC Trojans. But that field is about to get covered with a temporary quarter-mile-long asphalt track for this non-points race. I know. Ever since I really got into NASCAR, I know that NASCAR has been trying to crack open the Southern California market, specifically Los Angeles. Riverside Raceway, revered, loved, I loved it, road course. Used to actually kick off the regular season before the Daytona 500.
Yeah.
Then that went away. And it took us a little while to get back to things. And then all of a sudden, Roger Penske built California, now Auto Club Speedway, which was, for all intents and purposes, a clone of Michigan.
Yeah.
That's about to change.
Mm-hmm.
They're supposed to go back to Auto Club this year, which will, again, once we get into the schedule, you'll note. But then they decided to do this. And I'm not really understanding totally why. Again, this is an invitation-only race until they set the parameters of it. Prior winners, those that have won races the prior years. This year, it usually happens the week before the famed Daytona 500.
Mm-hmm.
But the NFL changed their schedule around. They added a 17th game into their regular season, so it pushed everything back a little bit. So now what we've got is the Busch Clash all the way on the West Coast, scheduled for February the 6th. That's the week before the Super Bowl. Busch Clash, Super Bowl weekend, then Daytona 500. They state that the seating capacity, once the track has been installed, will be about 78,000 people. Now, this isn't the first time that NASCAR has run races inside of a stadium. They held a race for what we now call the Cup Series in Chicago Soldier Field back in 1956. And to this day, regional NASCAR races are held in Winston-Salem, North Carolina's Bowman Gray Stadium. Why they didn't just go there, or say to a reworked Rockingham or North Wilkesboro, I don't know. Other than the fact that they are trying, again, to crack the Southern California market. Okay.
I'm going to keep my mouth shut on this one. I don't understand it. I don't get it. I don't get it. I don't get it.
And it goes back to us throwing dirt on Bristol when you could have just gone to a dirt track.
Yeah.
Things that make you go, what? Anyway. Again, past that, NASCAR didn't release the information immediately. What we do know is this. Daytona, again, 2 weeks later. So the dual races come February the 17th. That's Thursday. The Daytona 500, Sunday, February the 20th. Should things, California, continue as planned, we head back out west to Auto Club Speedway February the 27th. So February the 6th, all the NASCAR Cup Series teams who are invited go from Charlotte, North Carolina to L.A.,
yeah.
L.A. to Daytona, Daytona back to L.A.
Yeah.
There's this nice little thing called a globe. Kids, ask your parents. Or a map, which you might need to ask your grandparents about. Kids, look up a GPS. Charlotte, L.A., L.A., Daytona, Daytona, L.A. Do the math. That's a lot of miles.
If you want to get real technical, it's Charlotte, L.A., L.A., Charlotte, Charlotte, Daytona, Daytona, Charlotte, Charlotte, L.A.
I know. I was trying to make it that much easier.
Yeah. This is what I listened and saw clips of the interview that was done about when the official announcement came out with the date.
Right.
The interview done with Ben Kennedy. You said the statement several times of wanting to crack the LA market.
Yes.
July the 19th, I was on a Delta Airbus A321 heading to Los Angeles International Airport.
LAX.
Better known as LAX, that's right. On my way to Honolulu, Hawaii.
Yes.
The flight pattern that one said A321 took going into Los Angeles flew right over Auto Club Speedway, as well as the Los Angeles Memorial Mausoleum.
Yes.
Since when is Auto Club Speedway not considered the LA market? Why do we have to take 2 trips in 4 weeks?
That was my question.
Why?
I had the exact same question.
I've got a really, really, really sneaky feeling that Fox dabbled into this again,
Probably.
just like they did with the Bristol Dirt Race, considering that the Super Bowl is in Los Angeles.
Go figure. They get to
We're
talk
trying to make it
a lot about crossover right
We're
now.
trying to talk about the sports crossover. Yes, I get it. Nothing is better for the sports world than some form of crossover. But why do we have to go to the West Coast 2 times in a month?
Yeah, with an East Coast race in the middle.
Yeah.
But wait, there's more. After we go back out west for the Auto Club Speedway February the 27th, that is a West Coast swing early in the year that includes Vegas and Phoenix before they head back east for races at Atlanta. Then to Texas, Circuit of the Americas. Okay? Still following on the map, right?
Mm-hmm.
April, Richmond.
That, by the way, is race 10,
Ah,
FYI.
right.
Yeah.
Richmond, Martinsville, the Bristol Dirt Race on Easter Sunday. That's something else we'll get into. And then right here to Talladega.
Yep.
May kicks off with Dover, then Darlington, Kansas, Texas for the All-Star race, Charlotte for the Coca-Cola 600 on Memorial Day. June appears to have NASCAR's top series rolling into Worldwide Tech Raceway at Gateway as rumored. They are going to St. Louis. First time for the Cup Series, I think, ever.
Yep.
And then on back to California to Sonoma. And then after a weekend off, they'll race in Nashville at the Nashville Superspeedway. July takes Cup Series to Road America, back to Atlanta for the second race of the year. New Hampshire, Pocono, not for a doubleheader, single race. That other race went to Worldwide Tech Raceway at Gateway. And then wrapping up the month in Indianapolis, where they're going to run the road course once again in conjunction with Indycar. August, wrapping up the regular season, Cup Series goes to Michigan, back to Richmond for race number 2, as that track moves out of the playoffs. Bad call in my mind. Watkins Glen, and then Daytona in the regular season finale. September and the Cup Series playoffs get rolling at Darlington, then Kansas, then back to Bristol. Round 2 begins at Texas, then to Talladega in the first weekend of October, and then the Charlotte Roval. And round 3 is back to where somebody still needs a map, somewhat like the beginning of the year, because round 3 begins in Las Vegas, then comes back east to race at Homestead Miami in South Florida. Yes, Homestead Miami's back in the playoffs. And then they'll wrap up in Martinsville before the very next weekend, heading back out west for Sunday, November 6th, the 2022 championship weekend, wrapping up the Cup Series, the title race at Phoenix. So, let's give you a couple of moments, especially if you're on our YouTube channel.
Yep.
Which you can look up by going onto YouTube and just searching for Championship Racing Network. And look at the map as it is. And start piecing together 1, 2, 3, all the way up to race 38. Matt and I decided that we would break out a map or a GPS or whatever it is that you want to call it.
Or a globe.
Or a globe. And try and see if we couldn't keep the Tony Stewarts and the Rick Hendricks and the Roger Penske's and everybody else from sending their gas bills or fuel bills to the NASCAR headquarters and to Jim France for the excessive amount of mileage that they're about to put on their haulers in 2022.
I don't think I would send the bill to Jim.
I'd send it to Ben Kennedy.
There we go.
Good luck. We're going to try and put this in a little bit more something akin to common sense. Coming up next, right here on CRN, Matt has his idea of what the 2022 schedule probably should be. I'll do it as well, and we'll see how close we come to each other and how much more common sense that there actually is in our schedules compared to what NASCAR's put out. See how we do when we come back on CRN.
Don't touch that dial. The Championship Racing Network will be right back. To the Championship Racing Network.
If we had taken the time, this would have been a huge number. But we just, during the break, spent the time to look up how many miles it's going to be to get from Charlotte to the LA Coliseum, back to Charlotte, and then after the Daytona 500, Charlotte to Auto Club Speedway. Forget Charlotte to Daytona, which round trip is about 1,000 miles.
Roughly.
So you add 1,000 miles onto, for all intents and purposes, a 5,000-mile round trip to get to the Busch Clash, then another 5,000-mile road trip to get to Auto Club Speedway. That's 10,000, 11,000 miles just in the first 3 races of the year. See where this is going? I hope you do. So that brought Matt and I to figure out, well, since geographically it really doesn't make a whole lot of sense, let's keep the Clash where NASCAR wants to put it, their chosen LA Coliseum.
For an exact number on your mileage real quick, 10,800.
There you go. So we start at the LA Coliseum. We go west coast to east coast to run the Daytona 500. From there, Matt, let's play, shall we?
Sure.
How did you redo the schedule?
How did I redo my schedule? All right. Here's my 2022 schedule.
Yes.
If I'm doing the schedule here. February 6th, we're not running.
Okay. So you're eliminating the Clash.
No, I'm not eliminating it.
Well, as it sits.
As it sits currently, yes.
Okay.
February 11th.
Okay.
Friday night.
Of Super Bowl weekend.
You run the Clash at Daytona.
Okay.
Original format. Original rules. Bring it back in a traditional format.
Okay.
February 17th and February 20th, I left alone. Duels, Daytona 500.
Right.
February 27th, I left alone with Auto Club as well.
Okay.
You start your Western swing.
Okay.
March 6th, we're going to go to Sonoma.
Okay.
March 13th, we're going to track down to Vegas.
Okay.
March 20th, we're going to go to Phoenix.
Now, this is Matt's suggested 2022 map. If you're watching on YouTube, those are the green numbers. You can watch along.
Those
1,
are
2,
mine,
3,
yeah.
4, and on.
Those are mine. Correct. March 27th, we're going to go ahead and make our stop at Coda.
Okay.
April the 3rd, we're going to go to Kansas. That's going to complete the first part of the season, Western swing to Midwestern swing.
Okay.
April the 9th, which will be a Saturday night. Saturday night. We're going to run the Bristol Dirt Race.
Okay.
Easter Sunday, park the haulers at the shop. Leave it alone. All right? After the off weekend, we're going to start our Eastern/Midwestern swing.
Okay.
Well, I'm not going to throw Midwestern. April 24th, we're going to go to Darlington. May the 1st, we're going to make a little pit stop off exit 173 on Interstate 20, better known as Talladega.
Okay.
May the 8th, before it gets hotter than 18,000 you-know-whats, we're going to go ahead and run the All-Star race at Texas.
Okay.
May the 15th, day race. We're going to run Richmond.
Okay.
May the 21st, Saturday night, we're going to go to Martinsville. May 29th, tradition, leave it alone, Coke 600.
Charlotte.
All right? Now we're about to go to the Eastern Seaboard. June the 5th, let's take a trip to Dover. June 12th, let's run Pocono. The 19th, we'll go to New Hampshire. June the 26th, I'm going to move up Watkins Glen. Here is the kicker. Here's our little kicker here, boys and girls. July the 4th, Monday night,
Oh. Okay.
we're going to run the Firecracker 400.
You're moving Daytona back.
I'm moving Daytona back to traditional slot.
All right.
July the 10th, we're going to run Atlanta at night.
Please.
The following Saturday, we're going to go to Richmond. Night race.
Okay.
Moving Richmond up. July 24th, we're going to put weekend off number 2 in the schedule. July 31st, we're going to go to Indianapolis. August the 7th, we're going to run up to Road America. August 14th, we're going to bump Michigan back to that date. August 21st, we're going to run our inaugural race at Gateway. And closing out the regular season, we're going to go to Nashville.
Okay.
Now we're going to the 10 playoff races. Round 1. And the reason I went with this is because of I could not understand or comprehend why we're crossing the country again in the playoffs in different rounds.
Sure.
We're going to leave the opening race at Darlington on September the 4th. September the 11th, we're going to run the home game at Charlotte.
Okay.
September 17th to close out round 1, getting their playoff spot back, we're going to go down I-95 to Miami. Opening up round 2 of the playoffs, we're going to put Bristol as the opening round race. October the 2nd, we're going to throw the other short track in. Martinsville. Closing out round 2, we're going to come back to exit 173 and go to Talladega. Round 3, in the round of 8, October 16th, we're going to go to Kansas. Makes perfect sense to start working your way out west.
Mm-hmm.
October 23rd, we're going to go to Texas. And on Saturday night, October 29th, Saturday night in Las Vegas.
Yes.
Lee Phoenix is the final round race.
Okay. You and I aren't that far off. I left the Busch Clash where NASCAR chose to put it, the LA Coliseum.
Okay.
So that's the week before the Daytona 500, or week before the Super Bowl. Super Bowl week after, duels, 17th, Daytona 500 on the 20th. I decided to work our way back out west by moving Circuit of the Americas up to February 27th. Then to Auto Club, that was March 6th. Sonoma, March 13th. That way you don't have back-to-back road course races in this case. Then March 20th, Vegas. March 27th, Phoenix. That wraps up your West Coast swing.
Mm-hmm.
We'll come back east. We'll run on April the 3rd at Atlanta. April the 9th at Richmond. Easter weekend. And that Richmond weekend, you could figure out whether to run it day or night. I've got it Saturday night. I love Richmond at night.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
The next weekend, I have them running at Martinsville, but the Cup Series race does not run on Sunday. I've got them running on Saturday night under the lights that they just installed and worked very nicely at Martinsville. And then you've got Sunday off, and you're close enough to the point where it's nice and easy to get back to be with family for the entire day.
Sure.
And then Bristol the next Sunday, the 24th. That takes Talladega out of April and moves it to May, but it moves it to that weekend where it actually happens to be the last weekend of April, first weekend of May.
Mm-hmm.
The Cup Series race would be on May the 1st. May Day.
Huh.
Seems appropriate. Darlington would then follow,
Yep.
which, under ideal circumstances, would make for a busy 2 weeks for
Woo-hoo,
Matt.
boy.
But I have no problem with that.
None at all.
Then you go from Darlington to Dover. Then you get the Texas All-Star race. That could be a Saturday night. It would probably preferably be a Saturday night race because All-Star race under the lights. So it could be the 21st, could be the 22nd.
Right.
I'll leave that open to interpretation. Then you got Memorial Day weekend. Sunday is the 29th. That is Charlotte. That is the Coca-Cola 600. As he mentioned, you don't mess with tradition.
Right.
From Charlotte, I would kick off June, on June 5th, at Nashville. And then begin a little bit of a Midwest swing by going to our very first race at Worldwide Tech Raceway at Gateway for the Cup Series. That would be on the 12th. Then you got a week off in there, which that could be played with.
Yeah.
You could move Kansas up a week to the 19th or leave Kansas on the 26th because you're going from Kansas to Wisconsin anyway to Road America. That would be July 4th, technically, weekend. If you can't put them at Mid-Ohio and team them with Indycar, which in a lot of ways I kind of prefer, no disrespect to Road America. From Road America, we go to New Hampshire. From New Hampshire down to Pennsylvania to run at Pocono. And you could argue that maybe you could move Michigan around in there, but that's just the way that I've got it. New Hampshire, Pocono, Michigan, Indy Road Course. That's the NASCAR IndyCar weekend. From the Indy Road Course, Watkins Glen. And then I'm going to go to Richmond. This would be the weekend of August 13th, 14th. If you choose to run a day race, it's in the middle of August in Virginia. Could get a little uncomfortable. I would probably put it on Saturday night, the 13th. Same thing for the next weekend as we get to Atlanta. That would be the 20th, August 20th. If you choose to run it in broad sunshine in the middle of August, Good luck. Hope you bring a lot of sunscreen. I'd put it under the lights because you're at Atlanta August 20th. And then, as is scheduled, wrap it up at Daytona, the end of the regular season. Again, don't mess with tradition. It's Labor Day weekend, and it's the kickoff of the playoffs. You go to Darlington on September the 4th.
Mm-hmm.
Here's where some things change. Here's where he and I actually match. First round of the playoffs are Darlington, the Charlotte Roval, and Bristol. Round 2 of the playoffs begins at Homestead, Miami, then here to Talladega, and then to Martinsville. I used to like Talladega, Martinsville back-to-back, just because you want to talk about the two opposite ends of the NASCAR track. You go from the biggest, longest, baddest track NASCAR's got at Talladega to the paperclip.
Mm-hmm.
I always loved that. So I would do that again. And like you did, round 3, Kansas, Texas, Vegas, and your championship weekend is at Phoenix.
Pretty close.
It's some differences. I chose to leave Daytona as the cutoff race for the playoffs instead of moving it back to July 4th. I can easily argue for them to go back to July 4th.
Yeah. You really could.
Again, these maps are on, you can see them in visual form. My numbers are in blue. Well, thank you. I appreciate that. On the map. Matt's was in green. What did you have, Cup Series? Yellow? Was Cup Series yellow? Red? Red. Okay.
Cup was red.
I couldn't remember right offhand. So feel free to check out the YouTube video. You can kind of see the numbers there, 1 through 38, including the non-points races there, so you can get a better idea of exactly how all this comes together.
I'll blog these too, so
Sure.
you can check out our website and go to the blog section, and you can look them up and do them side by side and everything.
Exactly. Kind of play with them a little bit and see what you think. All I can say is that the way that the schedule's set up, I'm not the biggest fan of it. And if I'm putting myself in as a team owner, if I'm putting myself into the shoes of a Rick Hendrick, a Tony Stewart, a Roger Penske, a Jack Roush / Brad Keselowski beginning next year, or any of these other guys, the bigger teams, they can handle it a little better. But if you're a smaller team, if you're a startup operation, I'm going to use Spire Motorsports as an example.
I was about
here.
to say Spire as well.
Spire, Rick Ware Racing. I'm looking at the potential bill for my haulers. And again, we just talked about the first races of the year. Busch Clash, LA Coliseum, Daytona 500, and then Auto Club Speedway. And that was what? 12,000 miles?
10,800.
10,800, 11,000 miles. In that short a period of time. That's just the first 3 races, scheduled races of the year. And then you start throwing in all the miles that you have to add in throughout the rest of the year. It's not an inexpensive venture to run what they have put out for a 2022 schedule. In addition to how much it's going to cost for you to field the cars, whether it's 1 or 4. It's not going to be cheap.
No.
But it is what it is. And there's some things to like about the 2022 schedule. I like the fact that the Cup Series at Worldwide Tech Raceway at Gateway.
Yep.
I really do. I like the fact that they're keeping the number of road courses that they're on. I do wish that they would add a couple of more short tracks. They're talking about that. I'm not necessarily talking about building one in the LA Mausoleum. I'm talking about going to a North Wilkesboro or Rockingham existing track. There are places that NASCAR's trying to go. They're trying to crack the LA market. They are still talking about trying to crack the New York City market. Good luck. I don't know how it's going to work. I know that NASCAR's looking to their future. They want to get it done. They want to get it done right.
Yep.
Hopefully it works out.
Yep.
Hopefully it'll work out for you as well. Have a great weekend. Good luck to all your football teams. Join us again next weekend right here on the Championship Racing Network.
This has been a presentation of the Championship Racing Network.